It's a blessing to welcome on a member of USC's Elite Eight run. He just now announced he's returning now for using an extra year of eligibility to come back to USC for one final year. Isaiah White, how you doing, man?
Doing good.
Absolutely. Well, kind of take us through this whole process. Obviously, you already spent a four-year career now in college. You also had your redshirt year, and now you decided to come back and use your extra year of college eligibility to play at USC for your second year. So how are you feeling right now?
I feel good. I'm excited to come back and give it another shot and finish with my master's degree at USC. So blessed.
Absolutely. Well, we kind of discussed this a little bit, but we know this past year was crazy with the COVID protocols, and you guys ultimately got to go to the bubble. We'll talk about it a little bit, but walk us through this whole year now. Kind of get this off season, just how does it feel to be away from basketball and kind of down the COVID protocols?
Feels good. I mean, even like in the tournament with the bubbles, everything was just like
Hmm.
more difficult than what it already is. So I'm glad that's over. Hopefully next season be a lot easier. But yeah, I'm glad I don't have to do that no more. Every morning go to COVID testing and yeah, that was a lot. That was a lot.
Absolutely. Well, let's kind of go back because you haven't always been the guy that's always had the spot on you. You haven't always been the star at USC. So let's kind of get this whole story. So let's head back. You are back home at USC. So what was it like growing up in California, though?
It was cool. I played football and baseball growing up. I started playing basketball in high school.
Hmm.
So when I started playing, um, I didn't know that there's that much talent around me. I didn't know that kids were getting offers or any of that. I was just playing this for fun. So um, that's how I started off.
So what kind of led you to start this? I mean, obviously growing up in California, I know it's one of the more dominant sports, basketball and football, but like what led you to start playing basketball?
Um, my friends that I grew up with, we only played at the park.
Hmm.
And when we went to Upland High School together, they tried out for the summer league, the freshman summer league team at Upland High School, and they all made it. And I played football and baseball, so I was playing football
Hmm.
at Upland High School my freshman year, and then they made it. So I was like, I felt like I was better than them this whole time when we were playing at the park and all that stuff. So I was like, I'm gonna try out after football, and I made it. And then it was just like really just playing and having fun with my friends, and it wasn't really a serious thing until later.
And that's interesting because a lot of guys that you say are going to school like USC and have an elite team where you're going deeper in the tournament. A lot of the guys have been playing their whole life. It's always been something they've been keying in on, focusing on, and you're a little bit different journey than a lot of those guys do. But what's it like just kind of looking back at that and seeing how far you've come in just a short span?
That's what I pride myself on. I feel like I started, you know, at an unfair advantage. I mean, unfair advantage, but I started like super late with everyone already having played their whole life or knew what they wanted to get out the sport and knew that they wanted to get a scholarship. And me just playing to have fun and starting so late, I kind of didn't have any pressure. I didn't, I was just playing to have fun. So I think that helped me a lot. But I also went into the game just trying to learn everything and trying to learn as fast as I can. So when everyone around me were getting scholarships and we're doing all this, um, I was learning from everyone else. I was watching what everyone else was doing, and I was literally just going back home and doing exactly what they were doing. Or I was on YouTube trying to figure out drills and going home. So uh, to from going to that to this,
Hmm.
it's just been crazy, man. I can't even explain it, but I definitely worked for it. I earned it.
Hmm. So when did that flip switch for you? Like when was that point you said, you know what, I really do like this game of basketball and it's something I actually want to pursue and you started really looking at it more for I want the offers now. I want to become a guy with notoriety. I really want to pursue basketball.
Um, I would say after my freshman year because I played freshman football, basketball, and baseball. I played three sports that year.
Hmm.
And I played football and baseball my whole life. Um, but then going into my 10th grade year, it seemed like basketball was just like I grew like from 5'8" to 6'2",
Mm-hmm.
and it just seemed like that was like the most fun to me. Like it was the most, and I felt like I could work on that by myself as much as I want. Versus like football, I had to either be with somebody to play catch or I mean I could have went to the weight room by myself. I was only like 15 or 16. In baseball, you had to have like someone play catch with you or go to batting cages or whatever you do for baseball. But I
Mm-hmm.
felt like basketball, I could just take the ball, go to a park, and work on stuff by myself without, you know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
I just be, spend time, just kind of have me time with the ball. And I enjoyed that the most. So I think that's why I chose basketball. And from there on, when I dropped football and baseball, like, okay, I'm gonna have to get serious with this since I'm only playing one sport. 'Cause that was the first time I was like choosing one sport. So I was like, if I'm gonna play this, I'm gonna take it serious and try to get the best out of it. But it wasn't about scholar. It was never about scholarships, or any of that until like my senior year when I was playing against dudes that were already committed somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
or who had scholarship offers. And I was like, and I felt like I was the same or better than them.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, then I need to get I need to get my stuff too if this is what's coming with it.
You mentioned a key thing too, and that is the growth spurt. That's something that seems to be for a lot of guys in basketball. But how did you kind of like adjust to that? Because that was a pretty big growth spurt, growing about 6 inches in about a year span. How did you adjust to that growth spurt? And obviously, you've grown even more than that now. But how have you like, kind of grown into your body?
It wasn't good. 10th grade, I was awkward, skinny, super skinny. Um, and I was, and that being super skinny and awkward and have like a whole new body in like a year span and playing a whole new sport, it's very tough. And then my junior year I grew to be 6'5", so 3 more inches.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then my freshman year in college, I was 6'7".
Mm-hmm.
And then towards this year and last year is when I kind of start like filling out because I've always been just super skinny. So that's what happened. But yeah, it wasn't well. I had to do a lot of training with my dad in the sand and kind of just learning the game and learning what my body can and cannot do,
Mm-hmm.
um, and trying to add on to it.
At any point, did you ever kind of look back and say, what if I continue playing football? What if I continue playing baseball? Or have you ever kind of missed playing those sports?
Of course, probably like my senior year because I my body started to fill out a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
My freshman year, I was really good at football. I was at a really good football school up in high school, and I was really skinny and short. So I was thinking like I'm probably not gonna be as big as these dudes later on. And I didn't know how tall I was gonna be. So I was just like, I think basketball is probably gonna be my best bet.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but yeah, I felt like my senior year, I was like, man, I'm big now. I wonder what could have happened if I would have stayed in it. But I mean, it was whatever. And then baseball, I definitely could have stayed in it. But no, my heart was with basketball.
Mm-hmm. So if someone would have told you either heading into freshman year or heading into sophomore year that eventually you're gonna become a guy that's gonna play Division 1 basketball, it might take a couple years to go in JUCO or whatnot, but you're gonna play Division 1, and then you're gonna be able to play at USC, the biggest school in California, for 2 years. Could you ever imagine that?
No, nobody, not my mom, not my dad, not nobody, not me, nobody. I think this journey was crazy. Yeah, no, 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 no. Uh, every year I changed my game. So the coaches that would coach me, whether it was travel ball or at high school, whatever, that would see me like maybe in 10th grade. I was on JV. I played JV at Upland in 10th grade. I actually played with Eli Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Elijah Scott in 10th grade. Um, that year compared to my junior year, I looked like a totally different player. And then when I transferred to Damien High School, from Upland to Damien, I looked like a totally different player. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So every year I changed my game. and look different than I did the year before. So you really couldn't tell where I was going. It could have been like, oh, this kid's trash. He's not going anywhere, or it could have been like, oh, he's probably going to be this good.
Hmm.
I had people tell me, you can be a, they think I could be a Division I player, but I could probably be a really good Division II player. I
Hmm.
had people tell me I was going to make varsity my senior year. Uh, yeah, my dad told me probably just take the Division II offers just because there's still scholarships and they're still going to school. And,
Hmm.
your parents want, the best for you. So they wanted me to take the offers instead of go JUCO. And I knew that I wouldn't have been satisfied with myself because I wasn't playing the game for money uh, or scholarships or all the extra. I never played the game for that. I just played it to play at the best level I can play at. So if I think I'm a Division I basketball player, even though everyone else is telling me I'm not, um, if I'm not, then I won't make it. Then I'm done. But if I am, then what? So that was my take on it. So I was like, if I can go JUCO and still somehow get a Division I scholarship, then I'm going to do that. And if I can't, then I can't. That's what it
Hmm.
was. So I chose that route instead of just settling and going D2.
So it's kind of with that transition there because originally your junior year, then you have a pretty good year at Upland. You average 20 points a game, 8 rebounds. You start getting some attention a little bit. But then you make the transition out to Damien, which is where you really get more attention. Obviously, Damien's a lot more of a basketball, well-known school. So walk us through that. Like, why did you decide to go from Upland to Damien? Was it basketball reasons, family? Like, what led to that move?
It was definitely basketball reasons. That school didn't take basketball serious at all. And I was in a good league
Hmm.
with Chino Hills, Etowanda, Damien, and Rancho was good some years. So it was just like, and then all these other kids were getting scholarships. It's the same thing. All the other kids around me were getting scholarships and getting notoriety. And I wasn't because I was at this school. So it's kind of like, who are we playing or whatever. But I mean, we were playing the same kids that were in our league. So for me, it was just like, can I do this at another school or can I still be good? Or is it just me being good at this school? Same thing with Utah Valley and USC. Is can I go and be, can I, will they need me at a bigger school or am I only just doing this at this school? That's all it was.
And being in California, obviously, anyone that's in the basketball world knows that's one of, if not the main power producing plants for basketball. There's just tons of talent, top to bottom, every class. What's like just playing basketball out there in terms of just overall talent?
That's crazy.
Hmm.
Um, because everybody is like, there's so much kids, and everybody's grinding and everybody's hungry
Hmm.
and everyone has that dog in them. So it's just like it was tough growing up playing basketball. But I think for me, what helped me a lot is I didn't know anybody because I just started playing.
Hmm.
So like I felt like if I was growing up playing basketball, I knew all these kids and these kids had big names and I didn't, then it would have been like, oh my God, when I was playing kids at different schools or whatever, it would have been like, oh my God, who's this kid? You know what I'm saying? But because I went into, and I wasn't really a basketball fan either. So I wasn't watching basketball all the time. I wasn't watching college basketball. I wasn't paying attention to the high school basketball stars.
Hmm.
I started playing because my friends started playing. So when I would play these big names, when I went to like Damien or whatever, it didn't matter to me because I didn't know how big they were or how good they were until they
Hmm.
showed me. So that kind of helped me a lot. But once I realized, like, now that I'm grown, I realized, like, I was playing against some kids that are in the league now.
Hmm.
So yeah, but yeah, a lot of successful basketball players come out of California.
Do you remember one guy or maybe even a couple guys that you went up against that you were like, man, this guy's good. You kind of earned the respect, or guys you kind of love battling?
Of course, the Ball brothers, Chino Hills is OD.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were too much. And the way that they played, you couldn't really like stop it because they were just like playing wild and but it worked. Um, who else? My teammate at Damien, Bryce Peters was really good.
Hmm.
Going against him in practice really made me better because at Upland I really didn't have that competition. So I knew I was getting better, but I didn't know how good I was.
Hmm.
And I didn't have anyone testing me until I went to Damien, and he was really good every single day of practice and every game. Who else? DeAnthony Melton. I played against
Hmm.
him. I forgot what school he was at. But yeah, he was good. He was physical defensively.
Hmm.
He was like super athletic in high school, I remember. Um, but yeah, I would say those names I named were pretty tough.
So at that point, then you have to look at your next opportunity and you choose to go to Salt Lake and play JUCO basketball. But obviously, that wasn't probably your ultimate goal. You would rather be playing Division One or whatnot. But what kind of led you to JUCO? Like you said, your family and people were kind of saying, "All right, go to D2." You have those offers. What led you to say JUCO and kind of bet on yourself?
That's just who I am.
Hmm.
Even dropping baseball and football, um, and I've been playing those sports, and I was really good at those sports. I wasn't just playing it just to play. I was really good at football and baseball growing up my whole life. And I just dropped those because my heart was with basketball. That I was betting on myself. So it was just like I felt like I was playing sports because
Hmm.
I wanted to play it. And if I was gonna play it, I was gonna do whatever I wanted to do
Hmm.
with how I wanted to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, I'm still a regular person, whether I'm with sports or not. And I always felt like sports was just kind of like cherry on the top. Like I want to play it for fun.
Hmm.
So everyone tell me what to do and what life decision to make. For me, it wasn't that big of a deal. It was just like I want to go after this. Why not? Like, and they're telling me you're gonna fail or whatever. But then I failed. I'm not gonna die. I still can go be a regular person. Like it wasn't a, so
Hmm.
um going JUCO for me was just like another opportunity to try to go D1. It wasn't about, oh, I'm a division. It wasn't like, oh, I'm not a D, forget D2. People who go D2 are trash or whatever.
Hmm.
It's just like this is what I'm playing the sport to get the highest level I can get to. And if I can't get there, then I'm cool. Like I'm done.
Hmm. Now, I want to kind of go into your makeup of your game because you are a unique player in terms of what you bring to a team. And you kind of talked about earlier, like you kind of ran a whole different, you kind of really changed your entire type of game every year of high school. That's kind of relevant. I mean, some guys that watch USC might not completely recognize you, but you're kind of that Swiss Army knife where you kind of did everything for the team. Obviously, Evan did what Evan did, Taj and Isaiah, whatnot. But it's nice you go out there and you scored 20 plus points in a night. It's nice to go lock up the best player in the team. You facilitate, like you're a big guard, you can run the forward, can kind of do anything on the court. Kind of take us through that. How have you grown into becoming this really Swiss Army knife that can do anything on the court?
My whole career, because I wasn't a big name and because I wasn't like good right away, and I started
Mhm.
super late, I kind of just had to take whatever was given to me.
Yep.
So if I was on a team, and I had a trial for a lot of teams too. So
Mhm.
if I made a team and I was new and there's already a good player or the best player on the team or whatever, and he was taking all the shots, and the coaches were on his side, whatever, I had to find other ways to make myself useful, whether it was rebounding, defense, energy, doing something to be on the court, and just for myself to have fun.
Mhm.
So that's why I think my game has grown so much because instead of going on teams and thinking, oh, if I'm not the best player, then forget this, or um, a coach telling me you're not going to score that much, and then me just kind of putting my head down and kind of giving up or whatever. I just kind of found different ways and different things and challenge myself to fill in different roles for the team than just being that scorer or that whatever.
Mhm.
So I think that paid off because um, when I go to a team like this with a lottery pick on there and other great players, I'm not just lost in the loop. I kind of
Mm.
still maneuver because I've been doing that my whole career.
And some might not realize it too, but you are one of the better, if not, you're more so I kind of call even an elite rebounder because of your size. You're not the tallest guy, but this past year averaged a little bit over 3, but it's partly because you had a 7'1" guy that's probably gonna be the number one pick down there. So it's kind of hard to get a lot of those. But you overall, you've averaged 8+ rebounds per game in college. You've averaged almost 10 in JUCO. Like, how have you become such an elite rebounder while not always being anywhere near the tallest guy, kind of having a height disadvantage?
Um, I probably have to give that credit to my dad.
Hmm.
Yeah, he was always on me about rebounding and just energy and leaving it out on the floor. So it didn't matter how athletic I was or if I wasn't making shots or whatever the case may be, it was you could always rebound. You can always bring energy. You can always try your best. You can always dive on the floor. You can always do those little things that a lot of people don't want to do. So take pride in that, especially if I'm not the best player and I'm not, I'm gonna do something. So that's where I think I got that from.
So let's go into that JUCO move. You go out there to Salt Lake and you have a really good first year out there. You pretty much dominate and you get some other offers or looks whatnot coming in the future. But like you said, this is JUCO. It's not always the easiest atmosphere. It's pretty much a 2-year time on yourself if you're going to continue playing after that or not. What's the JUCO atmosphere like?
It's crazy. It's like it's very like loose and you can get lost. Um because because you can get lost in like the wave, like because they're not on you, it's not a strict schedule. Classes is kind of like whatever. And then all the players are trying to get Division 1 offers.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone's out for themselves. And the coaching staff or they're trying to move up too.
Yep.
So they're out for themselves. And then uh the players that JUCO players usually have that reputation of having players that either didn't make it because of grades, so they just don't care, or they do have good grades, but they're kind of just like whatever on the court.
Mm-hmm.
Um or just, so it was just like it was kind of just grimy.
Yep.
They don't pay you like how they don't pay you a stipend like how Division 1s do. They don't
Mm-hmm.
look after you. The training room, you forget about that. Like you're not getting that good of a treatment
Mm-hmm.
if you get injured or whatever. um, yeah, I mean, as far as food, I was starving
Mm-hmm.
left and right, breakfast or dinner. If your parents didn't give you a lot of money, or if you didn't somehow take care of yourself, you're gonna struggle. So I kind of went through that a little bit too,
Mm-hmm.
but it all paid off, I think, because now I'm in the air. Now I'm in a spot at USC where it's like these, some kids might complain about the littlest things. And I'm like, I went JUCO.
Yep.
So anything that you got to give me, it's a plus. Like I'm not tripping. I could deal with whatever in the worst circumstances. So
Mm-hmm.
it teaches you a lot, but you can get lost if you're just not focused.
I can imagine you kind of already had that dog mentality from growing up in California and all that, but I think JUCO gives everyone that different kind of dog mentality. It really takes it to another level because those that do make it out of JUCO and become Division 1 players, and then a lot of the guys even become NBA players, the other guys with that dog mentality that kind of become famous for it. So what did JUCO give you mentality wise? Like what's the mentality that you've seen now carry on to your time out there at Utah State, then also your time now at USC?
Um, Same as coming from playing freshman and JV and varsity is I'm not supposed to be here.
Hmm.
So now that I'm here, it's bad for anybody. So that's how it is. Like when I step on the court, it's like I'm really wasn't supposed to be here, but now that you guys let me on here, I'm gonna let y'all have a type of energy or whatever because you really have to like come from nothing. You have to get out the mud and kind of do something to get yourself there. It's not just, and I never had a trainer. My dad kind of worked me out as far as conditioning wise, but he wasn't a basketball server on where he just knew all these different drills and all that stuff. And he had his own stuff to do. So it was just like I had to do it by myself and learn by myself, and go to different trainers here and there to kind of figure out what's going on. But when you do that and you do that from JUCO, in the middle of Utah, you just working out by yourself, and you don't know if you're gonna go D1 from all this work, or you don't know where you're gonna go, um, and then you end up still making it. It definitely it adds a lot of confidence to your game, because then you're playing against guys who were getting offered easily out of high school, who had all the tools to help them. Um, and now you're on the same floor as them. So now you get to show them that, yeah, like I'm here,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of if I had that stuff or not. I'm still here. And I'm still in the same area that you're in.
You also brought up a little bit ago, like probably the hardest part about JUCO because it's so much different than any other form of basketball in the way that, like you said, your teammates that you want to win with, but you at the same time, you know that there's only so many Division I spots, only so many schools are going to offer each guy that you kind of are competing. Like you don't necessarily want the other guy to make it. You want the first spot, and you have to want the first spot. So how is that like kind of competing with teammates while still saying, okay, we still need to get together and win? Like, how'd you balance that?
Um, I think you just have to be good-hearted.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you just are good-hearted and you kind of don't worry about what everyone else is doing, and you kind of just have good intentions, then the karma of the game will be good for you. Because I did see players that were jealous, and I did see players that you know, were kind of like had that JUCO energy where they're just like, F this, I'm trying to get a scholarship and I'm done everybody, that stuff. And some do, some don't, because it's bad karma. But I just, for me, it was just like, come here, work, try to win when there's, try to win every game, try to have fun. And if you make it, then cool. And if you don't, then not the end of the world. So I think it was just being good hearted. I wasn't gonna hate on anybody for getting a scholarship over me. I wasn't gonna hate. I've never been that. I've
Mm-hmm.
been a dog, but I've never, you know, been one of those players. I was like, oh, he shouldn't do this. Oh, he shouldn't do that. Oh, he's not good, and any of that stuff. Because everyone has their own journey and their own thing going on. You never know what someone's going through. So I never was trying to judge anyone else's situation. I just knew that if I stayed true to myself and grinded, whatever happens, happens. And it worked out.
You think redshirt your sophomore year out there? Take us to that.
I had a 3 bulging disc in my lower back because after my freshman year, I felt like, this was my last year, do or die. So I was really locked in from April. And I was lifting by myself like 6 times out of the week. I was working out like 6, 7 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just doing too much very early. And when I got to July, and I was like lifting like a lot, and I think I think I was like 220.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got to July, like my back started hurting. My JUCO coach told me, because I'm from California, so I could have went back home for summer like everyone else did. I stayed there in the summertime. I took an extra class, so my classes in my sophomore year could be easier. And I just wanted to stay there by myself with no distractions in Utah and just grind so I can get a scholarship for the next year. And it kind of backfired, but it didn't. But it kind of backfired because I hurt myself, because I wasn't with any trainer or anything. I was just trying to lift, and I was trying to do too much. Um, and I ended up hurting myself. And that's when I realized, like, uh, you can't rush the process of, getting, being good. You kind of just have to work and be consistent, and then let it come. Like, you can't do too much in a little bit of time, or you're gonna hurt yourself. That was my first time ever being injured ever in my life. So yeah, I had 3 bulging discs in my lower back. Um, and the JUCO coach didn't believe it because I was one of the best players. So he was like, you know, but after I found out that my back was hurting in the summer, I committed to a D1 because I knew I probably wasn't going to play.
Mm-hmm.
and then I signed. Then I tried to start my sophomore year, but the first 2 weeks my back was still hurting, and I didn't know what it was. I
Mm-hmm.
thought it was just something small, but it was hurting my sleep. It
Mm-hmm.
was going down my legs, so I knew like I was like, "What the hell is this?" And I went to go get an MRI. Found I had 3 bulging discs, and I was going to need surgery, or it was going to take a long time for like a long physical therapy period for me to get better. And I just chose to redshirt since I already signed.
And ultimately, it's kind of a blessing in disguise because, like you said, ultimately, you'd rather probably be playing out there. You never would really want the injury. But at the same time, now you look at it, now you get to go to USC because you probably never would have got the USC opportunity had you not got hurt because that would have been your end of eligibility. Now you
Yep.
end up getting 2 years because COVID comes in, you become a 6 year player, one of the first ever to do it. But looking hindsight, like how has it been to kind of see like how it's all unfolded and how crazy kind of looking at how that in a way was almost a positive.
Yeah, I think for sure. I think that's the good heart I was talking about earlier. Just
Mm-hmm.
being good hearted and letting God, you know, I could have went D2. I could have. There's a bunch of things that I could have done
Mm-hmm.
differently if I would have, you know, been mad about something else or felt bad for myself or listened to people that didn't have the same vision as me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think just being good hearted and just believing in myself brought me here for sure.
So you ended up choosing a school in Utah Valley, who a lot of people probably not know the head coach that you were playing for, Mark Pope, who now has been an incredible coach out at BRU. But what was it like kind of being coached by him? What was his attraction to you, and how did he ultimately win you over to commit to Utah Valley?
Um, he was very truthful,
Mm-hmm.
and he was just like he just told me like I'm gonna get on you. Like, we're gonna get better. Like we're not gonna play around. We're not gonna because he wanted to get better. Man, he wanted his team to be good, and he used to always say like we are. If you want to make it to the next level, then you're gonna have to help him make it to the next level. And if we all help each other make it to the next level, then we all can make it.
Yep.
If we're all trying to, be on that selfish stuff, then we're gonna all be down here because we're gonna lose. And he was all about winning, and I'm all about winning. So I think that's why we clicked for sure. He's a great coach, great coach. Every practice was intense, super hard, um, and we won a lot of games. So I think he taught me a lot about basketball, about college basketball that I didn't know. That I think if I didn't go to him, I wouldn't probably be here because he taught me so much.
You are a California guy. You grew up there, was raised there, played all the way through high school there. And then you come to Utah, and obviously there's a lot of difference in terms of the way you live out there. So, well, those that have been in Utah kind of know what I'm talking about. But what was it like kind of transitioning from living in California lifestyle to Utah for what, 4 years of your life then, or 5 years of your life?
I'm gonna say something positive about Utah. Uh, I have to say, I think for my maturity, going to Utah was huge.
Yeah.
Because college is wild, and I think if I was going to college anywhere else, especially like in California, I
Mhm.
wouldn't have been focused. I wouldn't have been all about grinding. I wouldn't have had that because Utah, there's nothing really out there. It's boring. Um, I was forced to lock in. I was, focused on my goals, and it was clear as day. My goals were clear because there's nothing else going on. So
Yep.
that helped me a lot versus being in California where there's so much things to do. I know everybody. Um, and it's always sunny. It's always a great day outside to go do something that you probably shouldn't be doing or to go, do something that's not towards
Hmm.
um, getting yourself or elevating yourself. So I think going to Utah was huge for my maturity because now I'm at a school where I can pick and decide to go do those things or whatever. And I'm more older, so I'm like, I know what I need to do.
Mm-hmm. So their first year out there is your junior overall season, technically redshirt sophomore or whatever, but you have a pretty solid year out there, and you guys are very successful though. You guys go 25-10, a great team. Walk us through that season. Like, how special was that for you?
That was a great season, and it was very good for me because I learned how to win at the Division I level with good players and a good coach.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that that's what that's that's how I learned how to be a role player and to buy into it um, at that level. Because if you're a role if you're a role player on a bad team, then it's you kind of just feel like, man, you know. So I felt like I kind of like learned how to own up to being a role player and still be on a good team and be happy about it. And I kind of made myself um, a name in that sense of, like, oh, this kid is good too. Even though he's not the best player on the team, I still kind of learned how to, own up to it versus just kind of being quiet and being a role player and doing, I kind of learned how to have fun still while being a role player because I'm winning.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was huge for me. And when I came here, it was kind of a similar situation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the best part about it was my second time doing it versus my first time. So when I was kind of putting that role here, I was like, I'm gonna own up to it. Like it's still my team, and I still want to win. That's all that matters. So
Yep.
that helped me a lot.
So you're now coached by two great coaches. Obviously, like I mentioned, Coach Pope's been incredible for what he's done already since he's moved on there. Coach Enfield's now an incredible coach. I think he'll be at USC for many, many years to come. But what's the similarities and differences? Like, how would you compare the two of them, both the way they coach game plan wise, the way they prepared the teams? Like, what's the similarities and differences between the two?
Coach Andy's more laid back
Mm-hmm.
um, as far as the little things, but he's like super strategic and like what he's doing. And
Mm-hmm.
then Coach Pope was honest about every little thing, everything, every little thing. He was honest. So I think that's the big difference is Coach Andy's more like more cool and but we also had a team with lot of talent, so it really wasn't too much to, and we had an older team versus like in Utah, especially Utah Valley. I think mid majors obviously have that chip on their shoulder um, to win and to get better because they're already doubted as a mid major. So he was on us from the first practice to the last. We were going at it. That was a tough season, but we won a lot. And I think here at USC, Coach Andy was just more laid back, but he still he knew his stuff. He
In
knew
your
his,
second year, obviously, as the coaching change out there, and Coach Pope obviously deserves, and he moved on to his bigger and better job. But you get a new coaching staff in there. Coach Madsen steps in, but you also take a different jump. It's no longer a role player. Obviously, the team wasn't as successful win loss wise, but you go out there, you average 15 points a game or near that, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. Like you become the star of the team. How did you emerge as that, and how beneficial was that? Kind of getting an opportunity to be a star now at the Division I level.
um, that's kind of been my plan my whole career
Mm-hmm.
is learning how to be the role player first and then emerging.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of that was my plan from the start at Utah Valley was I was going to come here, I was going to learn, it's going to do what I have to do, and then next year it shouldn't be a question of what I need to do. Now I know what I need to do, and I just need to work and do it. And so that was kind of the plan. So um, I kind of would have been disappointed in myself if I didn't do that. But I still the overall. goal was to still win, and we didn't. So it was still, I think that was my worst year. Like that was tough
Mhm.
to not win like that, like to keep losing even after you put in so much work.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I think that was for me. Like it ended with my stats looking good, but that's not what I played the game for. So it was tough.
Mhm. Now you do put your name in the portal, and obviously it's for bigger and better things for you for that final year, as you originally thought it was going to be a final year. And so you're looking around, you have a lot of offers and interest from all over the country. Obviously, then I'm pretty sure you see the hometown, leaving Utah, you get to go to California and the biggest school in California. But what other schools were you considering, if any? Like, was there a number two option that you really were looking at?
Arizona,
Mm-hmm.
Arizona was number two, and then other everyone, probably Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
Muscle Man was Coach Muscle Man was recruiting me pretty hard, but yeah, Arizona, second one.
Talking about Arizona real quick, like what was it about Arizona? Obviously, Sean Miller, we know he's established, had a great record for a while. He was there, he's now gone. But what did you like about Sean Miller in Arizona?
Uh, my 10th grade year, my junior year, uh, I can't remember my 10th grade or junior year, but Stanley Johnson went to Arizona when I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, I don't know why, but Arizona was my favorite school. So
Gotcha.
once he decided to go there, I was like, oh yeah, Arizona's gonna be my favorite school because I like Stanley Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
I really didn't know anything about the history, or I really didn't know too much about anything about college basketball. I just liked that school because Stanley Johnson went there. Um, and then at Utah Valley, uh, when I put my name in the portal, I kind of did research on like what schools, um, would have like because they Arizona didn't really have that much guys returning.
Mm-hmm.
Like this could be a good fit for me if I went there. I just decided to go to USC.
I'm not sure if Utah or Utah State or any of those schools reached out to you, but was the goal to get out of Utah then at that point?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I had to get out of there because I already went to JUCO and uh, Division Utah Valley, so I was like, I gotta go experience somewhere else.
For sure.
But the goal wasn't to come back home. I just ended up come back home.
Mm-hmm. That is an added kind of benefit, though. You get to come back home where a family can come see you a lot more. And also, like, once again, it's a huge stage. You're at USC, which is one of the dream schools of most California guys. Like, getting to finally realize this whole story, like we talked about, you look all the way through all the journey. Now USC wants you, the biggest school in California. What was going through your mind when you finally agreed to USC and said, all right, this is where I'm coming?
See, that's where like I wish I could, because a lot of people ask me that, and they always look at me like, man, like again, growing up, I didn't know about anything. So like, I didn't know about USC being a big old deal. I didn't know, um, I just didn't really know about that. Wasn't really focused on like colleges and all that stuff. I really wasn't
Hmm.
for a long time until probably like my senior year, and it still wasn't about, oh, that's a huge school everyone wants to go to. Just like, where can I go to play?
Hmm.
So when I picked USC, now that I'm like super old, um, it's still kind of like cool. Like now, I gotta get back to work. But it still wasn't a big old like, oh my God, I'm from California. I've always wanted to do this. It was never any of that. It's just I gotta get back to work, and it's cool that my family could come see me. I come see everybody.
Hmm.
So yeah, I suck at answering that question because I'm so dry about it.
But you do go to a situation where I'm sure you eventually found out if you didn't know heading into it once you were there that you have the guy that's number one in the country. I think you found out two or three, but I still regard him as number one player coming in, and Evan Mobley, plus Isaiah Mobley, who will be an NBA player, if not this year, in the future. Taji D is obviously a special player. Like the list goes on of talent there. What was it like when you get in that practice? You start seeing Evan do what Evan does, Isaiah, like all this team. Like, what was his first practices like?
First practices with Grady,
Hmm.
um, everybody was good.
Hmm.
So coming from Utah Valley, where it was just like, you know, to USC where everybody's good and
Hmm.
everybody was tall. That's the first thing I noticed. I was like, damn, like I'm not big.
Mm-hmm.
over here. Like I'm kind of regular or kind of even short because everybody's big, everybody's good. You have a random dude named Drew Peterson who walks in the gym. He looks like he doesn't do anything, and he's good. You got Chavez, who's like, you think, okay, well, Evan Mobley's probably got the big man position, so everyone else is whatever. Chavez is good. Chavez is killing. Uh, Ethan is big and strong, and he's a good defender. So everyone was just like getting after it. And those first practices was just crazy because then they put out the poll or whatever saying that we would be like sixth in the Pac-12, and I was so confused because I'm like, wow, well, if we're only sixth in the Pac-12, then high major basketball is OD. This is from my perspective. 'Cause I'm coming from Utah Valley, so I'm like, maybe I don't know. Like, maybe we aren't really that good, and I'm just tripping.
Mm-hmm.
But it felt like in every practice that we were really good, and it felt like the coaches weren't letting us off the hook either. Like they were on us, so
Mm-hmm.
we were only getting better. So it was tough. Like if you didn't come to practice to hoop, then you weren't gonna hoop because someone else was gonna hoop.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know a lot of the guys in that locker room, and it was an interesting locker room in terms of personalities. There's a lot of different guys that honestly wouldn't think you guys probably would get along so well because there's so many different personalities. But for starters, to start with Evan, we know how talented he is, but we know he doesn't really talk, if ever. Like, what's it like just being around Evan, and how far or how close you guys get throughout the course of the year?
Yeah, that's my guy, man. Nah, he's super cool, but
Mm-hmm.
he just at first I thought he was just shy. That's just who he is.
Yep.
And I think everyone knows that guy, that person that is just always on, chill mode, always cool.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, that's just I mean, after like the first couple of weeks, and then we all kind of start, growing together and being cool. We kind of realized like that's just him.
Mm-hmm.
That's him after a 25-point performance. That's him after a bad performance. That's him.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't change for. He's just even kill. So I love that about him. That's my guy.
Now, did that shock you at all? Because we see anyone that typically would drop the numbers he ever dropped in a game and some of the highlight plays he put down, they'd be celebrating in some form or fashion. Him, if he had the posterizing dunk against Oregon, he just starts jogging right back like nothing ever happened. Like, did that ever shock you? He never reacted to anything he did?
It kind of just felt like it looked like he's supposed to do this. That's how like the way he played, and then he kind of like was so nonchalant. It was kind of like, well, if he's supposed to do this, then we're supposed to do our job.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of set the team energy because like, okay, well, he's doing that and he's not even tripping about it. Like he's doing some great stuff and he's just like, whatever. We're all supposed to be doing this. This is business. This is this is what we're supposed to do versus like, oh, we're shocking everybody or oh, we're doing good. So
So did you know Evan was elite before you got there, or did you start figuring that out during practices?
no, yeah, I knew he was elite for
Mm-hmm.
sure. Before I got there, just because of the high school
Mm-hmm.
videos and all that stuff. I didn't even start. I started watching. Like, I started studying basketball when I got into JUCO, but in high school stuff I didn't. So I
Gotcha.
didn't know that he was really good.
Absolutely. Let's kind of go into the season a little bit. You obviously take your role as we talked about, but this whole team kind of comes together, and to some people it's shocking, but I think those that truly knew everyone that was on this team knew that this team was going to be something special, and you guys clearly were. But kind of walk us through this year. Like you have a lot of big games, but you guys upset teams. You guys play the way you guys did. Walk us through this year for you.
Um, a lot of it was like we were just good.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was just because we couldn't get into the gym early in the morning or late at night because of COVID restrictions. So
Yep.
USC shut the school down, so we only could get in there during practice. Um, but we were just like stacked. And in the beginning of the season, when they said that we weren't going to be that good, or everyone was shocked, we knew it from the first couple practices. So we were confused, like how come everyone's saying this? So we were already like, um, like we already from the first couple of practice, like, oh yeah, we're gonna be really good. And we were super tall.
Yep.
We had a lot of length. And in defense, I mean, we're playing against each other in practice and we can't even score. Like we can't, there's no room to score. There's no length. I mean, there's so much length that, so
Hmm.
all you could do, really, our defense carried us in practice because offense was so hard to score because our length was so much. So instead of us getting hyped over doing stuff on the offensive end, we would get hyped over defense. We would get hyped over steals. We would get hyped over blocks. We would get hyped over locking somebody up. Uh, like if I lock Tajidi up, I'm more hyped and I'm in his ear about locking him up versus me getting the bucket because it was so hard, because we were just such a good defensive team. So as we're beating teams, it was never a shocker for us. And we kind of knew it from the get-go. Uh, Especially when you have an Evan Mobley. If you just do your job, then we're gonna be solid. So we kind of knew that. We weren't shocked at all.
You mentioned a little bit earlier that your plan always is to kind of take a role the first year, learn your way, and then the second year is to break out. And you had a couple of flashes. You had a 22-point game against Oregon. Then you also had a 22-point game against Arizona earlier in the year too. But what's to come this upcoming year now? Like when you're talking about yourself, we know Evan's going to be gone. A couple of the guys have moved on or whatnot. Like there's going to be opportunity to score, a lot more opportunity to score. In fact, how do you plan to take another step? Is this a chance where we could see you break out and score close to what you did when you were back out there at Utah?
I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. I'm not focused on that. I'm just gonna focus on the summer and working on my game.
Hmm.
Um, and just hopefully, we can win a lot of games like we did this year, or even go farther. But yeah, as far as my stuff, I don't know. We'll see.
Well, a few more things before I let you go is one of which we do have to discuss the bubble. That's something that I know it kind of became famous. We saw it at the NBA, we saw MLB did it then, and then college had theirs, and there was a lot of highs to it. There was some lows I know, especially the first couple of days staying closed in your room. But walk us through the bubble experience and just what it was like.
The only good part about the bubble was winning. That bubble was horrible. It was trash. It was horrible. It was like, I mean, not far. Like, I mean, the food was cool, and you love like it, like walking around and being one of the last teams to walk around in the bubble was cool because it showed that we were one of the elite teams in the whole nation. To be
Mhm.
walk around and you see Baylor, Gonzaga, Houston, all those other good teams. And there's only a little bit of teams now in the whole thing versus when you first got there and everyone was there. So that was cool. But for me, just staying in that room, being away from my daughter and just staying in there was horrible. Like it was just like, well, I can't wait to get out of here. It was bad. So the only good part was going to the games. Like the games were super fun because we were just locked in that bubble.
Mhm. How much different was it? You said it was kind of cool just seeing other top teams, but when you first got there, I'm not sure the exact number, but there was obviously 60 or 70 different teams in the bubble. What was that like? Just how chaotic was it the first couple of days once everyone got out of the rooms?
Um, they did a good job of organizing what teams can go where and
Hmm.
what teams were doing this and what time. So we didn't see that much people. Like
Mm.
we saw like players walking around, and all that stuff. But it was so huge,
Yeah.
and there was a lot of rooms for everybody. So I think everyone got different time,
Hmm.
sections or slots where they could do stuff. So it wasn't you couldn't like see everybody. It wasn't that hectic. It was cool.
Now, you guys, like you said, you guys kind of expected, and I even had you guys going to the Elite Eight, but what was it like as you move on? Because still at the end of the day, I mean, maybe not for your case, but a lot of guys obviously grow up. You see the brackets always. You're moving on. You still are making movements in that bracket. You're still going to the 32, then you're going to Sweet 16, then you're going to the Elite Eight. Like, what was it just still like winning and making that far into the tournament?
For me, it was it was cool because we were keeping up with all the other Pac-12 teams.
Hmm.
So like we were on TV and then we would see like UCLA won. Like they beat Michigan State. And we're like, okay, well, we can't lose the first game. You know what I'm saying? Or we can't be upset at like if all the other Pac-12 teams are winning. Because Oregon State won and so we're like, oh, we gotta win. Because we felt like we were one of the best teams in Pac.
Mhm.
So when we played Drake and we won, we're like, okay. At least we didn't lose the first game. And the second game came around and everyone else started winning the second game. And then I kind of was like, I want to go to the 32. So I
Yeah.
was like, I want to go to the Sweet 16. Like, how come we can't, everyone else is going. So it's just like, for me, it was just looking at all the other teams that we played against and seeing them win and seeing them have so much fun moving forward. That's why I wanted to move forward because I just felt like we were just playing these teams and we were just beating them. So how come we can't move forward as well?
And you guys, as a whole, obviously pulled off a lot of big games. You guys played Gonzaga, and obviously that game went how it went. It's Gonzaga. But when you just look back at it, then all the things you achieved, and like the biggest thing you said, the Pac-12 was obviously, as we know, was disrespected compared to every other conference, major conference at least in the country. To see all you guys move on to have only one loss, Colorado heading into the Elite Eight, like what was that kind of proving everyone wrong as a conference?
It felt good for sure because that's why we weren't getting ranked like we thought we were supposed to. That's why we were getting slept on. Um, and it was just cool seeing teams that we struggled playing against in the conference have success because we're like, we know these kids are good, because we're struggling. And so to have that on the brightest stage in front of everyone, see the Pac-12 do good was really good. Felt good.
Well, my final USC thing I want to ask you about is next year now, as we said, obviously Evan's gone. He's a spectacular, huge piece to last year's team. Todd was another huge piece to you guys. Replacing them, obviously, so far you guys have announced Boogie's coming in, which he's a spectacular talent returning back home. I think he'll be spectacular. He'll be able to fill Todd's world pretty well. But Drew's coming back. You're coming back. I think there's a chance Isaiah's obviously will return back to. Chavez is coming back. Like a lot of returners, plus Ethan as well. But then you guys have a lot of incoming freshmen coming in. How special can this team be? Then, like, what should people expect for USC this upcoming season?
I think we'll be all right. I don't want to say anything, 'cause I don't really know yet.
Hmm.
But now we know how to win. Like now, for all the returners, this is not our first time transferring to a big school.
Hmm.
Um, and then for like Isaiah and Max and Ethan, um, especially and us, we all went to the Elite Eight.
Yep.
And then we have some good talented freshmen coming in. And I think it's cool that the coaches have a lot of returners coming back. So their job is easier, and they kind of like start on like level 5 instead of starting on level 1 with a whole new team.
Hmm.
We kind of know what to expect and what to do and what the coaches want from us and all that stuff. So I think we'll be ready to get back to work and learn and all that stuff. But as far as the season goes, I'm not sure. I don't know.
Absolutely. Well, off the court though, as you said earlier too, you have a daughter now. You're a girl dad. How has she helped change your life now?
Man, she just made me even more than what I already felt like. Just feel like life is just, a blessing and just, special no matter what position you're in. Um, it's just, so if I come back home from a loss and I'm pissed off about the loss and I see my daughter, I'm like, there's no way I could think about the game. Like, I'm looking at my daughter, I'm looking at her face and my face is in her face. Like she has my face. So there's no way, like I'm just happy that, I'm alive to see my own daughter. I'm happy that she's alive. I'm happy that she's happy to see me.
Hmm.
So it kind of just puts a lot of things in perspective. Like nothing is that serious to where you should be, feeling down and out and all that stuff. Like you should just always just be thankful and grateful and happy with what you got and what you're doing because you're living.
Hmm.
That's what that's what having a daughter really taught me.
So after you use this extra year, then like, what's next for you? You just want to pursue professional basketball? Is there another avenue of life you want to get into? Like, what's the next step for you?
For sure, I'm going to go as far as same thing with going JUCO, same thing with going. I'm just gonna go as far as I can go.
Hmm.
at the highest level. If I can't make it, I can't make it. Um, but at least I got my master's degree from USC,
Hmm.
and I'll be cool. But it's gonna go as far as I can go, for as long as I can go.
Without a doubt. Well, something I was like wrapping up discussing is building a legacy for yourself, and that's something I know all guys want to do. So when you do finally come to a close of this game and you walk away from the game of basketball, what do you want to be remembered for what you achieved both on and off the court?
Just energy, being a dog, and just adapting to whatever is given to me, whatever role, whatever team. Just as long as these people know that kid went out there and was, had that energy every single game,
Mhm.
and just good, being a good person, just being a good, being a good kid.
Absolutely, man. Well, my final thing for you, give USC fans the three biggest goals you have set for the season.
Uh, let's get back. A goal for sure is to get back to the Elite Eight or make it farther.
Hmm.
Um, to obviously win the conference and let's just say win more games than we did last year. Those are some good goals.
Absolutely, man. Well, definitely appreciate taking time to come on today. Good luck on the upcoming season, man. And I'm excited to see what God's got next for you, man.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Coach, always welcome on, man. God bless.
You too.